slides 191 to 220, weak verbs. In this slide, slide 191, we have the pay guttural of the perfect. So this is the table for the pay, or the first guttural, the perfect, and you can see all the different stems here and the vowel changes and so forth. So this is just for your reference. Again, if you would like to refer back to the table that we had back on slide 189, you can see all these tables, all these classifications here, and there's usually 2 or 3 tables for each one of these, a perfect and an imperfect, and then the imperatives and jussives and so on and so forth. So we've just had a look at the pay guttural, the perfect form, and we'll have a look at the imperfect after that. So here's the perfect, and we'll just skip on to the next page, page 192, and this is the pay guttural imperfect. And then the pay guttural imperative, participle, and infinitive, and so forth. So I'm not going to spend much time on these. I'll go to the next classification, an AN, or second guttural perfect. And the imperfect, the AN guttural imperfect on slide 195, and the AN guttural imperative and participle on slide 196. And the next classification, a lamed 3 guttural perfect on slide 197, and the imperfect of the lamed guttural, or the third guttural, and that's on slide 198, and the lamed 3 or 3 guttural, or third guttural, imperative, infinitive, and participle, etc. And let's go on to the next classification, the pay aleph on slide 200, the perfect, imperfect, and imperatives. And the lamed aleph perfect on slide 201. Slide 202, the lamed 3 aleph imperfect, and on slide 203, the lamed 3 aleph imperative, infinitive, and participle, etc. Again, I haven't used these too much, in all honesty. I'm not that bored, but it is necessary to know this in a bit more detail when you're actually learning to speak the language or write the language. But for passively reading it, you don't need to know all the ins and outs of the vowel changes. You just need to roughly recognize niffle, pile, and pull, and hoffle, and hitbl. And if you've got the cull, perfect, and imperfect of the strong verb, that will do you well for everything else, and you should be able to notice, oh, that's a that's a weak verb. It's got an aleph in it, or it's got an an in it, or a het, or it's got a yod at the beginning, or a nun at the beginning, and that's going to make some differences in the vowels. So let's continue on slide 204, the lamed, or the third hay, the lamed hay perfect, and the lamed hay imperfect on slide 205, and the lamed hay volatives, participles, infinitives, and so forth on slide 206. The pay nun perfect, first nun perfect, on slide 207. The pay nun imperfect on slide 208, and the pay, nun, imperative, participle, infinitive, and so forth on slide 209. And the ayin vav, or the ayin yod, hollow vav, perfect, and on slide 210. On slide 211, the ayin vav or ayin yod, imperfect, and on slide 212, the ayin vav or ayin yod, volatives, etc., imperative and participle and so forth. On slide 213, the pay vav, perfect. On slide 214, the pay vav, imperfect. On slide 215, the pay vav, imperative, participle, infinitive, etc. On slide 216, the geminate, perfect. Again, you can have a look at the printouts on your PDF version of this lesson to look at these in detail. The geminate imperfect on slide 217. The geminate imperative, participle, infinitive on slide 218. And the pay yod perfect and imperfect on slide 219. And finally, on slide 220, the pay yod volatives, participle, infinitive, etc. And that's it for the tables for the weak verbs. And if you like, you can go to do the exercises in some of these textbooks to gain more familiarity with them. Again, here is the list of the 10 classifications that all those 30-odd charts or slides connect to. The pay guttural, the ayin guttural, the lamed guttural, the pay aleph, the lamed aleph, the lamed hay, the pay nun, the ayin vav, and the ayin yod, the pay vav, and pay yod, and the double ayin. So that's it for the weak verb tables. Okay, well that's lesson 8 completed. Well done. So we've had a look at verbal stems in part 1, and in part 2 we've had a look at weak verbs. So don't be too bogged down with all the weak verb stuff. It's just there for your information, and those tables should be helpful should you need to refer to them. And again, the suggested exercises in Biblical Hebrew and Introductory Grammar by Paige H. Kelly, Lesson 14 and Lesson 16 questions. And then if you want to get into all the details, do all lessons from Lesson 17 to 21. And in Basics of Biblical Hebrew Grammar by Gary D. Practico and Miles V. Van Pelt, Section 3 and Introduction to Hebrew Verbs and the Kaal Stem, then Lessons 14a and b, the Kaal Perfect weak verbs, then the rest of the section if you need practice, and Section 4, Intro to Derived Stems. Again, there's a lot of exercises in both these books on the weak verbs and verb stems if you want to get into all the details. So that's it. Well done. You've completed the course. And if you want to go over the course again and refresh your mind on anything, then that's great. But the main thing is just to learn the vocabulary and start getting into the Bible in Hebrew. again, well done. You should have completed all 8 of these exercises if you've gone through the course, and don't feel at all bad if you want to go through different parts and review it. Certainly print them out if you can and have them handy for reference. The main thing is just to learn verbs, learn the vocabulary, and start reading, and just have those helpful perfect and imperfect verb sheets and the pronominal suffix and whatever else that you need handy, and then just get into the Bible and start reading it very slowly and painstakingly, and hopefully you'll gain some spiritual fruit from the word of Yahweh.